Alright, good evening everyone. You are welcome to tonight's class. So we are still looking at Python. So tonight we'll look at if, elif, then else statement. Then now look at for loops and while loops. So this is what we'll be looking at tonight. So we are going to start with this if, elif, else statement. So you've done something like this before. I think during when we're doing Excel. If h2 greater than 100,000, value if true, else. So this is what we'll be looking at. So we have something like this: if 25 greater than 10, print its work. If 25 greater than 10, print its work. So I can copy this and I will say if 25 greater than 10, click yes. Let's just say print yes. So it's going to look at if 25 is greater than 10 and it will print yes. So if I say if 25 is less than 10, print yes, nothing will happen because 25 is not less than 10. So now let's look at if I say what is this thing? So if I say if 25 less than 10, print yes, then I'll now say else, print no. You know, before when I did if 25 is less than 10, print yes, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Let's say for example I'll copy this and I will paste it here. If I change this to less than, if I run, nothing happens. But now I'm saying if 25 is less than 10, print yes. So it's going to check if 25 is less than 10. This is not true, else print no. So if I run this, it will now show no. So when you now work with the else statement, so say if 25 less than 10, print yes, else print no, it will now print no. So let's look at now let's look at elif. So let me use this one to explain instead of. So I'm not saying if 25, okay, let me not start like this. So if I use Elif, let's say okay, let me use the conditional statement at once. So we have or. So let me just write everything here at once. So I will explain it at once. So if you are doing this, I'll put this into brackets. You have or, then I'll now put it inside brackets. Let's say let me remove this one for now. So if I have this, if 25 less than 10 or 10 greater than 5, print yes, else print no. I think there is an error here. So if 25 less than 10 or 10 greater than 5, print yes, else no. This means that if one of these statements is true, print yes. So 25 is not less than 10, but 10 is greater than 5, so it's going to print yes. So you can also use and. Okay. So and is going to give you no, because when you are using and means that the both condition must be true. I think you've used this in SQL. You use the or and add and operators. You use it. Or when we are using or, both or at least one of the condition must be true, but and both of them should be true. So understand the difference. Okay, so let's introduce Elif. So when we are dealing with Elif, you can have as many Elif as possible. You can have as many Elif as possible. So we have something like this. If 25 less than 10 and 10 greater than 5, so we already know that this first condition will not run. We now say Elif 25 greater than 40. 25 is not greater than 40, so it's not going to run. 25 is not greater than 30, it won't run. But 25 is greater than 10, so this particular one is going to work. So this particular one is going to work. So what Elif does is that if this one is not true, it will now come to this one. If this one is not true, it will come to this one. If this one is not true, it will now come to this one. So any one that is true, we might even have another Elif. Let's just say so this one now is not true. So this one is not true. So it's just going to stop here. So now let's run it. You can now see it's saying Elif 3 work, meaning that of everything is only this one that is true. So it will just run this one that is true. So that is how Elif works. If, Elif, else. So if everything fails, it will now print this one. So the last thing, you can even use a single line of code. Let's say we have something like this. Print it work if 10 greater than 30, else print it did not work. You see the same thing like saying if 10 greater than 30, print this, else print. So but with one line of code we can achieve this. So if you run this, it will say it did not work because 10 is not greater than 30. It's still the same thing as what we did up here. You see the same thing as what we did Where did I have the else? You see the same thing as what we did here. So if print, I will change this to 10, then change this to 30. You see, like saying if 10 greater than 30, print it work, else print it did not work. So this is the same thing, but now you just achieve it with one line of code. Very simple. So that is it for if, elif, and that is it for if, elif, and else statement. Any question? Okay. Okay, you say something like this. Okay. Elif statement. All right. Okay, let's just do it and see. Okay, I even skip one. I have to come back and do it. But let's check what you said. Let's assume this one is correct. So what happened? It shows that it works. So you just pick, just like the other one. One is going through, look at the first one, look at the second one. The one that is correct will just stop there. So that is the same thing now. Okay, we are using, let me change this to an. Let me change this one to an. So elif work. Which one work? This first one work. So in as much as (25) is greater than 30, the first one, 25 is less than 21, 25 is less than 40. So the first one works, so it will just stop there. So now, but if this one now is 25 is not less than 20, 25 is not less than 21, so but 25 is less than, so let's run this one. Elif 3 works because 25 is less than 40, even 25 is less than 50. So you just pick the one that works first. Did you get it? Hello, are you with us? So let's look at this one. I almost skipped this one. There was a question. That means you are not following us in this class. So you can click here, or I show you the one I'm using. Okay, who else know what I'm using? Shift enter. That is why you have not been following us in the class. You use shift enter instead of using this one. You see the same thing as using this one. In fact, if you overrun it, you can even see it here. It's showing the shortcut is showing here, shift enter, then to do the job of this. So now we have nested statement, nested if statement. So I'll just explain it. If you say if this, then this is the first block of code. From here is the same block of code. If 25 is less than 10 or 1 is less than 3, print it work. If 10 greater than 5, print this nested if statement work. So you can keep adding it. You can keep adding it. So now it's going to go through the first one. Here 25 less than 10 is not possible, or 1 less than 3. So you can add so many conditions depending on if you are writing advanced Python. When you are doing some advanced stuff with Python, you know how useful this is. So we have nested query, nested if statement. So not just like one if statement, you can still put others if statement. You see what is happening here? You will go through this one works, then this one too works. So the 3 condition works. So you just show the 3 conditions. So thanks to Usman for that question. I almost skipped this. So what if you have conditions that are true and you want it to capture those conditions? This will be very useful when you are writing advanced Python. You want it to capture those conditions that are, you can keep putting conditions. You just want it to print all those conditions for you. So you use the nested if. You can see it's showing it to run the first one, run the second one, run the other one too. If they are all correct, to keep running them, not like the Elif that just once it gets to the one that is correct, it will ignore the rest. So that is it. Any question? Alright, in the absence of question, we'll now go to for loops. So this is for loops. If you have something like integers equals to, I believe by now you should know what is this. This is a list. I will now say for number. This number here is a variable in the list, which is integer, print number. So what this does is, let's say for, you can give this anything. You can say for num in integers. Now say print so it's going to loop around this. It will print 1 2 3 4 5 like what you see here. So if I copy this and now say, you can even put something here. So you can say for num in integers print yes. So we'll just be printing yes, 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 yes in 5 places. So this what I did up there is still the same thing as this print yep. So another one is you can have integers. You now say for jelly in integers print yearly plus yearly. So what this does is that we just when it loops the first number, it will add 1 plus 1 and print 2, and now loop this one, add 2 plus 2 and print 4, 3 plus 3 print 6, 4 plus 4 8, 5 plus 5 then 10. Another one is you can use dictionary. But so when you are looping through dictionary, you loop it differently. So now if you have something like ice cream, this is the variable equals to, so this is a dictionary. So when you want to loop, you say for cream in this, then dot values print cream. So what this is going to do now is it will just print the values, which is the, by now you should know what dictionary is. We did that yesterday. So the name here is the key and the Alex Freebeck is the value. 5 is the value and this is another value. When you have more than 2, up to 2 values, you put them, you can use list to put them. So it prints the values for us. So this is what this does, to just print the value for us. So now you can also print keys. You say for key value in ice cream dot items, then print key. You can just put something like this arrow, you just then value. What you are doing here is this is going to print both the keys and the value. So in this place, instead of putting dot values, then you put dot items. So it's going to print both the keys and the values. So you can see this one, you can, if you want to print just the keys, you do it like this. It will just print only the keys for us, which is name, weekly intake and favorite ice cream. It will just print only the keys for us. If you want to print just the keys, but if you want to print both, you do it this way. Then we have what we call nested for loops. You have 2 lists, flavors and toppings. So now say for 1 in flavors, then for 2 in toppings, print 1 top with 2. So what this is going to do is it will print vanilla with this one, with Oreos and with marshmallow. So it's going to print it with this one. Then it will now come to chocolate, still print it with this one. It will come to cookie, print it with this one. So if you run this, it's going to show vanilla top with Oreos, vanilla top with chocolate top with this, chocolate top with that. So just like that, it will just go through them all. So that is how for nested loops works. So that is how nested loops works. Any question on that? Okay, I'll just run through the last one, which is the while loops. Let's say you have something like this: number equals to 0 while number less than 5, print number equals to number plus 1. So it's going to loop. What this does is that it's going to loop from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it will stop. It will just be adding 1. When you get to less than 5, it's going to stop. So this one now, you have number equals to 0 while number less than 5, print number. If you now say if number is equals to 3, break. Once it gets to 3, it will break. So that is what this does. Let's just say we change this to 2. Once it gets to 2, it's going to break. So if you want it to break at a particular number, you use this condition. Then you can use else too. Number equals to 0 while number less than 5, print number. If number is equals to 3, break. Then number equals to number plus 1, else print no longer less than 5. So if I run this one, if it gets to 3, it's going to break. But let's say I change this to 6. I change this to 6. If I run it, it's going to, we have less than 5 here. So that means this one now is not. So once it gets to less than 5, it will now show no longer less than 5. It will now capture this condition here because we can't get 6. We can't get to 6. So there's nothing like, if I put 4 here, once it gets to 4, it will break. But now you know that we don't have up to 6. So it will now run this last statement, no longer less than 5. So now we have another one, number equals to, then okay, let me do something. Let me put this one here. If I change this place to continue, if I change this to continue, you can now see it just, once it gets to 3, we just keep printing 3 3 3 3 3 3 until it breaks. So it will just keep printing this. Let me change this to 6. So you can see what happened there. But if you want to avoid that, you have to bring this up. You have to bring this up instead of, you can see with this, look at this one is after the break. So you have to bring it up before the break, before this, like after this one, now put it, so that if you are using continue, once it gets to this one, it will just stop like what I have here. But if it is like what I add here below this, if it is below the continue, you just keep printing. Like we have 3 here, we just keep printing the 3 or 2. You just keep printing it. If you want to avoid this, you take this up like I did here. You take it up, then this one might look a bit confusing, but just take your time, watch the video, practice. You will get the logic, because most of you are going to write some Python codes. You are going to work on some Python projects. You now come and see how what we are doing here will come to play. To really come to play. You can even see what we've been doing before, like lists. You can even see when we're doing for loops, you see how we're making use of it. By that time, the dictionary, the list, all those things, you are used to it. So that is how this is. When you are working on some advanced projects, you now see how you loop things. You use for loops, you use while loops to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So this is just like the basics, like, let me not say basic, like the foundation you will need when you get there. So now try to understand how for loops works, while loops works, and how the if statements, if, elif, and else statements work. So any question? Okay. When I upload the videos, just take your time and watch the videos, and also browse about for loops, while loops, and if, elif, else statement. So try to practice. It's all about practice, because you are going to make use of it when you write some advanced Python codes. You start making, when you are working on a Python project, you start seeing how all this come into play. Everything you are learning now, the dictionary, the list, the tuples, variables. You can even see variables are already coming to play. So when we are doing all these things, you now know what is a variable like. So you now understand how all these things work. So everything you are teaching is just like while you are in school learning mathematics. They will be teaching you addition, subtraction, multiplication, all those things. Then they will now take you to teaching you fraction, some of those things. This might just look like when you are in JS1 or primary. All those things are the basic things. In fact, even if you are doing masters, PhD in mathematics now, you still come across addition, and that was taught when you were in primary school, just starting out. We're teaching you addition, subtraction. So even in your PhD level, you see how to add something, subtract something, minus, square root, all those things. So that is how these things are. Get them now. When you now doing that serious project with Python, that advanced, you see how all these things. You use lists to store things, you use tuples to store things, you use dictionary to store things, you use sets. Something you don't want duplicate. There are some things you want to store, you don't want duplicates. You want distinct values, you use set to store it. So all these things now, you want to look through things, all these things will now come into play when you are working on a serious Python project. So get these things that I've taught you, all these basics. So now we are moving to, and next I'll be moving to some Python libraries. You already see what you are learning now is going to come to play there when we get there. So in the absence of question, we are done with tonight's class.